I guess it just depends on what you see as Amazon's final play. I mean, Amazon for me have been burnt a number of times when they've tried to go off and do things themselves. Their biggest example of that was their Fire phone exploit, which was just an absolute massive flop, a complete train wreck.
Mm,
And one could argue, even now to a degree, Alexa. Okay, you can say to me, Alexa is still the world number one smart speaker. Yeah, I can't deny that whatsoever. But the amount of resources they've brought into that natural language processing NLP space and the breakthroughs that they've currently been able to release have been pretty, I've got to be honest with you, lackluster. I mean, we
mm,
should be we should be much further along. Now, I appreciate it's incremental innovation that's going on. I think what Amazon's taken the view of, which is, look, we've got this incredible data set, which obviously sits around that customer and is constantly being enriched by this flywheel and ecosystem of platforms we've built around it. Let's continue to build the depth of those platforms, for example, in healthcare, in which the PillPack acquisition and other things support, excuse me, right across the piece in other domains in terms of logistics, in terms of fresh groceries, and the list could go on. I wouldn't be surprised at all, for example, if they even went out and bought a gym chain, because it would make eminent sense for Amazon to acquire, and it would be very cheap to acquire potentially some of those assets right now. So there's some very interesting things that they could do in that space. But the point remains, I wouldn't block Amazon. I wouldn't stop, in my mind, purchasing something just because it was made by Amazon. And I don't think many people would. But I think the key thing to answer your question is it just depends on how Amazon perceives themselves within a wider ecosystem. Because if you go down deep, yeah, it looks like it could be a complementary or competitive trade-off. But if you take it up another level, they're not playing for that little piece there. They're playing for the whole chessboard.